Most of the Aliyah content you will find, including, I confess, much of this series, is oriented toward families, couples, parents with children. The assumption built into many guides, many workshops, and many well-meaning pieces of advice is that you are making this move with someone, that there is a we, but a significant number of people make Aliyah as a single person, and their experience of the process and of the early years in Israel is genuinely different in ways that deserve honest discussion. This episode is for them. First, the practical differences. The documents are, in some ways, simpler. You have one set of documents to gather rather than a set per family member. Your financial picture is cleaner. Your housing requirements are smaller. You can be more flexible about location because you are not constrained by a school district or a spouse's employment situation. You can make decisions faster because you only need to convince yourself. On the other hand, you are doing all of this alone. The document gathering, the applications, the pilot trip research, the apartment hunting, the bank account opening, the Alpen registration. There is no one to divide the tasks with. There is no one to sit across the kitchen table from at 11 at night when the apostle has come back wrong and say, "It will be fine." You are doing it all, and when it is hard without a witness. The financial reality for single Olim deserves particular attention. The absorption basket, the salklita, is calculated based on age and family status. A single person receives less than a couple, and considerably less than a family with children. This is logical from the state's perspective, but it means your financial runway in the early months is shorter. The recommendation to arrive with an emergency fund of at least 30 to 50,000 shekels in accessible savings is, for single Olim without a second income to fall back on, not a suggestion but a genuine necessity. Housing costs are a particular pressure point. A single person usually rents a one-bedroom or studio apartment. In Tel Aviv, a one-bedroom apartment costs somewhere between 5,000 and 9,000 shekels a month. Even in more affordable cities, it is typically between 2,500 and 4,000 shekels. The salklita does not cover this. You will need a financial plan that bridges the gap between arrival and employment, because Israeli employers, as we will discuss in episode 10.1, are generally reluctant to hire you until you have actually arrived and have an Israeli bank account and an Israeli identity number. There is a classic catch-22 quality to this that every single Oleh encounters. Plan for it. The employment question is actually an area where single Olim sometimes have an advantage. You can be more mobile, more flexible about which city you live in, and more willing to take a job that requires unusual hours or relocation. If you are in a field where Israel has demand, high-tech, healthcare, education, finance, engineering, you can focus entirely on the job search from day one, without the complications of a spouse who also needs to find work or children who need school registration. Now let us talk about the social reality, because this is where the single Aliyah experience diverges most significantly from the family experience and where the most important preparation needs to happen. When a family makes Aliyah, they arrive with their own social unit intact. The parents have each other. The children have siblings. They have an internal structure that provides daily connection and support even in the hardest weeks. When you make Aliyah as a single person, you arrive with your Israeli connections, which may be very limited, and your overseas connections, which are suddenly very far away. The first months can be lonely. I will not pretend otherwise. Many single Olim describe the period between months 2 and 6 as the most difficult, after the excitement of arrival has faded and before the new social roots have grown deep enough to hold. The prescription for this is community, and the prescription needs to be taken actively. You cannot wait for community to come to you. Join a synagogue or spiritual community immediately, not because of religious obligation, but because it is the fastest route to human connection in Israel. If you are not synagogue-oriented, find the equivalent: a sports club, a language exchange group, an Anglo social group, a running club, a choir, a cooking class, NBN and various community organizations run regular events specifically for new Olim, including single Olim. Go to them even when you do not feel like it, especially when you do not feel like it. And be prepared for something that will happen within your first month with such reliable frequency that I feel I should warn you in advance. Everyone you meet will want to set you up with someone. Your open teacher, your downstairs neighbor, the woman at the Kupat Cholim who processes your registration, the man at the bank, your Aliyah advisor's cousin. This is Israel. The boundaries between the personal and the practical are, shall we say, permeable. People care. They express it by matchmaking. Receive it with grace. The specific challenges of making Aliyah in different life stages deserve mention. Someone in their 20s making Aliyah solo is entering a country with a large, active, English-speaking young professional community, particularly in Tel Aviv, and will generally find social connection relatively quickly. Someone in their 30s or 40s making Aliyah as a single person faces a somewhat different social landscape, particularly if most of their peer group in Israel is already partnered and oriented around family life. Someone making Aliyah as a single person in their 50s or 60s faces yet another set of dynamics. None of these is insurmountable. Israel has a very active Anglo social infrastructure for people at every life stage. There are communities, organizations, social groups, and yes, matchmaking services, formal and informal, for people of every age. But it takes more intentionality, more willingness to put yourself in social situations that feel uncomfortable, and more patience than the family Aliyah narrative tends to acknowledge. The rewards, when they come, are significant. Single Olim often report a depth of personal transformation that is harder to achieve when you are embedded in an existing family unit. You are building an entirely new life, from scratch, on your own terms. You are making friends you chose entirely yourself. You are developing a self-sufficiency and the resilience that Israel, with its particular combination of challenge and warmth, seems purpose-built to cultivate. Many single Olim describe it as the most difficult and the most formative thing they have ever done. You are not doing this alone. You are doing it independently. There is a difference.